The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society. Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom. Society 5.0, a technology-based, human-centered society. The fourth industrial revolution will raise our standard of living and solve various challenges we face. It will, for example, free us from the stress of driving, allowing us to safely visit anyone, anytime. We will have access to the latest medical advancements at a low cost, no matter where we are. AI and robots will enhance human ability and expand our infinite possibilities, helping us enjoy more fulfilling lives. Society 5.0, for the betterment of human lives.
It sure is dark out here. Pretty lonely, too. I've got a lot of work to do. Not like I have anything better to do in this place. Now, let's see. I think just one last session.
There are really two levels, or if you like, two time frames, where architects can become involved in the program of using the material and energy resources of space. The first is to work within the tight constraints of available pieces of hardware to design an attractive and comfortable workstation in space. Later on, there's going to be the time when we're going to be designing the big Earth-like human colonies in space with all the possibilities of grass and trees and flowers and waterways and so on, for people who are going to live there for long periods of time, men and women and children.
For the first time in the history of man, they're sending man off into space to finally stay there on more than a sandwich and thermospatal basis. To really stay out on the moon for a year, in space for a year, you're going to have to send with him everything that he's needed for his ecological regeneration. The air must be there, he has a process, and then he'll have to operate as a process.
Just start talking.
The capsule that he's in will be the first scientific house in the history of man. So with 2 billion people looking at him all the time, the little black box operating there, everybody in the world is going to realize you can have one of those little black boxes. You don't need any sewer systems, and you don't need any water supplies, you don't need any separate generators in the city. This little black box will just keep you going.
Hello?
Instead of going out and buying a package, you will go to the telephone, describe your interests, your needs, your problem. It'll be right over. They send you the package as a direct personal service. This is where we're heading under electronic information conditions. Products increasingly are becoming services.
I see humans around the world having one very, very important function. You cannot have mass production unless you have mass consumption. The more consumers, the bigger your undertaking. As we really come to automation, which can really do the physical work, people don't have any significance whatsoever anymore as muscle or automatons. They have only significance as consumers. Whoever has the most customers is going to win in the great industrial battles.
They're relatively familiar materials. We're not getting involved in anything terribly exotic. Your task is to build a permanent castle, if you like, at the top of that mountain.
And I said, okay.
The 20th century, we have seen the bankruptcy and the collapse of great social utopias. And the century in which we are living now will inevitably bring us the bankruptcy and the end and the disillusionment of technological utopias.
The
Look at Hollywood. I always trust Hollywood. Hollywood is warning us all the time. Hunger Games, Elysium, and so on. That's the society we are approaching. 20% of people live in the privileged zone. The majority is out. That's the future.
The geographical imagination, especially as it has developed within the spatial disciplines, geography, architecture, urbanism, continues to be confined by an encompassing dualism or binary logic that has tended to polarize spatial thinking around such fundamental oppositions as objective versus subjective, material and mental, or materialist and idealist, real versus imagined, things in space versus thoughts about space. Those binaries that have been associated with modernist philosophy, modernist social thought, and indeed modernist radical political thought. Everything revolving around binaries ranging not just from the big one, subject, object, but to man, woman, black, white, center, periphery, first world, third world, proletariat, bourgeoisie, capitalism, socialism. These are all the powerful binaries that have shaped our thinking and shaped our theories for centuries.
What is needed now is getting rid of our habits of thought that date back to the time when every little valley on earth was far removed from every neighboring valley, when every little city was a separate little world. And this is difficult to do. It may represent, in fact, the greatest problem facing humanity a century from now.
Post-colonial theorist Homi Bhabha describes the third space as a space that arises between the colliding of cultures, which in turn gives rise to something different and something new, something unrecognizable. It is this in-between borderless space where new cultural identities are formed, reformed, and constantly in a state of becoming.
People say to me, I wonder what it'd be like to be on a spaceship. And I say to you, you don't really realize what you're doing. Because everybody is an astronaut. You all live aboard a beautiful little spaceship called Earth.